He did reach Floyd, but a new problem emerged. The crowds outside had started multiple bonfires. The melting ice funneled water into the cave, creating
Bro, are you serious?
mud and sending freezing cold water down toward Floyd.
Why the f would they do that? What the bro? So nobody gave him a warning to not do that stupid shit? Oh my gosh, bro. That would piss me off. If I was a brothers, bro, I would go out there and freaking beat everybody up, bro. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to RICHLEV fam. Gang. Now today we got the most painful cave deaths of all time by the Plain Explainer. So this was a trend on TikTok, cave diving trend and stuff. It was really things that are happening in real life. People are going in caves and actually diving in there. I don't know why they're doing this. Like, I'm too black for this. It is what it is. I'm not going in that dark ass hole and not coming back, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just no way I'm doing that. But we're gonna check out some people that did, and unfortunately, they did not make it back. So without further ado, make sure to grab your popcorn and let's see.
Sturkfontein Cave Incident. It was September 29th, 1984. A cave explorer named Nuno Gomez was exploring unmapped sections.
Wait, why is that low-key a comp name though? Nuno Gomez? That sounds like a professional basketball player or something. No, not professional basketball player, like a baseball player.
Exploring
MLB.
Unmapped sections of the Sturkfontein Cave in South Africa. He was accompanied by his two friends, Peter Verhulst and Malcolm, and together they planned to lay a guideline from the entrance to the farthest point of the wet cave area known as Milner Hall.
See, like, how do you look at something like this and it's like, all right, let's climb it. Let's go die, bro. Come on, we'll make it out. Hell no, boy. You going your damn self, not me.
Nuno to go in and place the guideline, while Peter and Malcolm waited outside, assisting him from the surface. Nuno plunged into the water.
So not only it's a cave, but do most caves have water like this or something? But not only is it a cave, I thought they're just going through, you know, cracks and crevices and stuff. No, there's literal water, so you could drown.
Malcolm waited outside, assisting him from the surface. Nuno plunged into the water and successfully laid the line, covering a distance of 396 feet from the entrance to the end.
Wow.
Happy because of the success, the three decided to go back in and follow the new guideline. Once they reached the air pocket at the
basically this first guy that goes, he's risking his life. If he don't come back, then they're just both gonna be like, oh, well, it is what it is. Cause like, they're not gonna go try to find him.
They were satisfied that they had successfully mapped this cave section. So they turned around and began to head out, following the line. As Nuno led the group, he suddenly felt Malcolm touch him. Malcolm was signaling that Peter was no longer behind them. Nuno went back to see where Peter had gone and noticed that he had entered a side tunnel. Nuno tapped Peter to get his attention and signaled him to return to the guideline and exit the cave. As they headed back, however, Peter disappeared again. This time, Nuno and Malcolm assumed he had taken the other exit, avoiding the tight squeeze they themselves used, so they did not go back to look for him.
So he purposely went that different route to like make it easier on himself, technically?
The tight squeeze they themselves used, so they did not go back to look for him. When Nuno and Malcolm surfaced—
I'm sorry, bro. If you laid a guideline already, bro, go the freaking way the guideline is going, bro. I don't care if it's rough or nothing. Like, you trying to take different routes in a goddamn cave you haven't even been before. Like, dude, come on.
Peter was not there and still hadn't come out after a while. They submerged once more to look for him. They searched along the guideline and even in the side tunnels, but there was no sign of him. After 4 long hours, they ran out of air tanks, and the stirred-up silt reduced visibility to almost nothing. Finally, late that afternoon, they exited the cave and called for help. The fire brigade arrived, but lacking cave diving expertise, had to wait for the police divers to continue the search in the evening.
So I'll say a typical firefighter or whatever, police is not gonna just go in this freaking cave, bro. Like, I'm not doing it.
So stirred up that visibility was heavily impaired. The police called off the search for the night, convinced they would now be searching for a body rather than a survivor. What no one realized was that Peter was not dead at all. He had been—
But he wasn't dead? Where the hell was he then?
Sidetracked by a secondary tunnel, and the cave's complex 3D structure, combined with the lack of a guideline, the stirred up silt, and the darkness, made it nearly impossible for him to orient himself. After trying many possible paths, Peter found a small room and decided to wait there for rescuers.
Oh my gosh. Just imagine how scary that is. Just like, oh shit, just I lost where I'm going. I can't feel my friends. I can't see anything. Yo, he's so lucky he found this room.
Thrown his light into the water in hopes of signaling his friends, but when no one came for a long time, he switched it off to conserve the little battery life remaining. He tried making noise by banging his tank on the rocks, but to no avail.
Yeah, that ain't gonna do nothing, bro. You deep in there. They is not gonna hear you.
Eventually, he became exhausted, fell asleep, and lost track of time. After that first night of searching, the police closed off the cave so no one else could enter.
Bro, why does this kind of remind me of like a Mr. Beast video? Who can stay in the cave for 100 days, 100K per day?
Fortunately, the silt took a long time to settle, so visibility remained poor. Convinced Peter had not survived, the police decided to wait a full week before resuming the search.
Oh my gosh, bro. Nah, I ain't gonna lie. If I was his friend, I'd be on their ass like, nah, you guys need to go in there now. Like, there's a chance he could be alive. But at the same time, I also get it that they would think he's dead. Because like, bro, it's underwater. You know, nobody's gonna survive that long.
On October 6th, 7 days after Peter's disappearance, they returned but found no sign of him. Another week passed before they tried again, but he was nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, Peter was still alive. He had spent 14 days in complete darkness.
Oh my gosh, he's gonna go insane, bro. I feel like this is worse than being in a freaking asylum.
Starving and having lost much of his weight. Hoping for a way out, he decided to follow a passage leading from the small room where he had sheltered. After traveling 120 feet away from the water, he discovered it was only a dead end, so he returned to his spot near the water to wait once more for rescuers. The police—
Bro, that had to be so devastating because look how far this is. He probably thought, oh, I'm getting somewhere. And then for it to be a dead end, oh, I'm pretty sure that's heartbreaking, bro.
But they never found him.
Ah, damn. How did they not find just that one crevice he's in, bro?
Search with no result. At that point, they reopened the dry sections of the cave, but kept the water section closed. Volunteers then began looking for a connection between the dry and wet cave systems, and Nuno joined them. His contributions were crucial. He was the one who discovered the connection where they could enter the wet section of the cave. It was there that they found a set of footprints leading to a dead end, and soon after, Peter's body. Beside his body was a message that read, "I love you, Cheryl and Ma." It was later discovered that one—
Damn, that's actually so sad, bro. Like, he knew he was going out, like, just writing messages and stuff. Wow, bro. That has to be, like, one of the worst ways. Like, just starving to death and just, like, you know you're about to die. Like, there's nothing you could do about it. It's not quick or nothing. It's super slow. And you're just hoping somebody can save you day by day, and then it just never happens.
One diver had come really close to finding him as he entered an opening that was just 100 feet away from Peter's location. The autopsy revealed that he died of starvation after 3 weeks in the cave.
Yeah, that's the main reason. There had to be, you know, a good opening for oxygen, so he didn't, like, drown. But yeah, not eating nothing, bro. I wonder if he tried, like, drinking the water or something, or if he just didn't try.
3 weeks in the cave. Although we may criticize Peter's decision to explore on his own, we should also respect the fact that he fought to survive until the very end.
Nah, he was definitely a fighter. To go weeks, you know what I'm saying? Just waiting. Nah, that's definitely fight right there. But yeah, this is why I wouldn't do this type of shit, bro. This is way too much risk. And on top of that, bro, if you're gonna take risks, don't take even more risks. You know what I'm saying? Like going a different route that you're not even familiar with. Like, come on.
It was March 27th, 1982, and Donald Welch—
RIP to everybody in this video, though. RIP.
With his two sons, Christopher and Roger, were about to lead a group of 12 Boy Scouts on a day of cave exploration. This wasn't Donald's first time caving, and even though the passages in the Crooked Swamp cave system were notoriously narrow, he wasn't too concerned. Donald was bigger than the other participants, so if he could get through, the rest of the group could too. At 2 o'clock, they entered the cave through its 16 by 28-inch entrance and
Oh, that looks so freaking small, bro.
in a room inside. Donald was on the eastern side and noticed several smaller tunnels leading from the room. However, because they weren't sure which passages would be too narrow, Donald decided to check one. It involved a tight squeeze but appeared to open to another section, so he tried to push through. The squeeze measured 18 by 20 inches.
Oh my gosh, that's nothing.
Couldn't move his arms backward
I'm
or
saying,
lift his
like—
head to see ahead. He was followed by his—
Bro, as soon as you even feel that, we moving back. We're moving all the way back. Oh, hell no, boy. I can't move my arms and shit. Nope. This is not getting improved. We going home today.
And while moving forward thanks to the mud, making the terrain slippery, he reported back to them what was happening. Everything seemed normal until something unexpected occurred. As he pulled himself along, he realized—
No way. He like slid down?
The ground below him was disappearing. Donald slipped down into a tight crevice, and the slick mud prevented him from stopping his slide. His hands were trapped, leaving him no leverage to pull himself up. Making matters worse, the path angled about 30 degrees, so he had to fight against gravity. The crevice was just 5 inches wide, and the slippery mud caused his body to settle more and more. He told his sons to pull on his feet, but after several failed attempts, he told them to get the other adult in the cave, Jim. After a while, Jim also realized they wouldn't be able to free—
Damn, so he was just stuck in that bit, like not even pulling could get him out?
Donald on their own. Donald explained that some rocks had loosened when he slid and were now wedging against his body. Each time they tried to pull him backward, the loose rocks would slide forward and block the passage. Jim exited the cave to call for help.
Bro, that has to be the worst, bro. Just knowing you're just right there, somebody trying to pull on you, they just can't, bro. Just knowing that.
Cave rescue specialists and the police arrived, and because only one person could squeeze into that narrow space at a time, they tried using ropes to free Donald. This didn't work either, so they brought in tools to try breaking some of the rocks. However, given how tight the space was, hours of work led to only small breakthroughs, and Donald's situation grew worse. He was thirsty, hungry, and in a very cold environment.
This type of stuff take hours, because first of all, each of them have to go in, they have to figure out their game plan, what exactly they're gonna do, and then actually getting in the cave, and then seeing if it works, then it doesn't work, then they go and start over and over again. Like, that's hours and hours and hours.
Considered entering from the other side to give Donald food and water, but they found that the passage leading to where he laid was extremely narrow.
Yeah, that looks way too tight, bro.
Two very small cavers, sisters Lynn and Nancy Taylor, were able to fit, but even then, they couldn't reach Donald's head. This meant there was no way of delivering supplies, so rescuers had to act quickly. They
didn't have like no type of robot or something that could, like, damn, it was that tight?
Delivering supplies, so rescuers had to act quickly. They decided to dig from above ground, down to where Donald was stuck. The process lasted all day Sunday, getting them close close to the required depth. Unfortunately, though, they were about 12 feet away from Donald's position, so they needed to dig laterally. Meanwhile, Donald began giving only grunting responses, which indicated he was likely suffering from hypothermia. On Monday morning, as 2 days passed from when he—
That's crazy. You would think like being in the cave would actually be like too hot and stuff, but it's actually super fucking cold.
Stuck, the digging continued, but the team encountered another problem: extremely hard bedrock layers that were impossible to dig through. At this point, they weren't sure if Donald was still alive, so they sent a nurse into the cave with a handheld Doppler machine to see if he still had a pulse. She couldn't detect one, but this wasn't definitive proof of death, since she only had access to his very cold legs. Sometimes, the body's core organs can continue functioning after the extremities have stopped registering a pulse. Seeing how quickly Donald's condition was deteriorating, rescuers started using their most extreme tools, including dynamite, which was extremely risky, but appeared to be the only option left. On Tuesday—
God damn, what if that blows his head off though?
Finally managed to reach his location, and a doctor was sent in immediately, but as many feared, Donald had died. It took an entire day to retrieve his body, and an autopsy later confirmed he had succumbed to hypothermia sometime between Sunday night and Monday morning. Following his death, the cave system was restricted to limited access. Agent Allwed incident.
Bro, I feel like all these damn caves need to be limited, bro. Just get rid of, because like, I don't know, it's just literally so much risk. But you can say that about anything, bro. You're taking a risk when you drive, you know, when you walk outside, when you do anything's a risk. But like things like this, it's like, bro, you're choosing to do this. But this is super unfortunate because he literally slipped, bro. Like he was a professional trying to scope out the area and stuff, and it was just because of some mud and stuff that he slipped and got into that little groove, bro. And that's just, oh my god, that's so unfortunate.
Roger Solari and Martin Farr, aged 26 and 23 respectively, wanted to map out the Agent Allwed cave system in South Wales. At the time, John Parker, another explorer, had abandoned the mission after discovering a third sump in one of its longest passages. Martin and Roger, however, wanted to keep going to see what lay—
Now, like, caves just freaking scare me already, and I can imagine a cave with water too, bro. Like, that's just a double whammy. Like, you're either gonna drown, you're gonna suffocate, you're gonna have hypothermia if you get stuck. Like, dude, there's so many things that go wrong.
First trip was done by Martin alone, because Roger had hurt his knee, making it extremely dangerous for Martin to continue solo. Reaching the third sump was a feat in itself, since the route was not only tortuous, but also extremely long, lasting for hours, as the first sump was about a mile into the cave. The first two sumps measured—
Bro, a mile in a cave is crazy, bro. Like, just imagine that. I feel like just walking a mile on a treadmill or anything is like super long. Imagine just crawling through a cave for a mile.
249 feet and 82 feet, so Martin passed through them relatively easily. However, the third sump was much longer, and nobody had fully explored it yet, so Martin could only hope he—
Like, how do they even do this? They have to go down. Like, I don't know if this is the exact pattern or this is drawing, but if it is, you know, accurate to the drawing, they have to go down and then swim up, bro. Like, how is that not super dangerous?
And nobody had fully explored it yet, so Martin could only hope he had enough air to reach the end. Fortunately, he managed to swim through it about 850 feet, and on the other side, he found something else interesting: a zigzagging passage, roughly
Oh, hell no, bro. No. Swim your ass back, bro, please.
800 feet long, leading to another sump. Nobody had known about this fourth sump, and Martin realized he probably wouldn't have enough air to explore it and then return. He spent the next 4 to 5 hours heading back out, planning to wait for Roger so they could tackle sump 4 together.
Like, just imagine that, bro. Just spending 4 to 5 hours in a freaking cave. Like, how scary that would be. Like, just not knowing if you're gonna make it and shit. Like, it's just like the physical capabilities of your body just slowly declining.
Planning to wait for Roger so they could tackle sump 4 together on the next trip. When they returned on June 15th, 1974, both Roger and Martin brought extra air tanks. They successfully reached sump 4 and began diving it with a guideline to help map the route. After about 400 feet, Roger finished his guideline, and he had sinus problems, even though it wasn't the first time. Despite this, they decided to continue. Martin then took out his own guideline, and they kept going, but they made an important mistake. In cave diving, there is a concept called the rule of thirds for air consumption. If you use 1/3 of your air supply on the way in, you need another third to get out, leaving the final third as an emergency reserve.
So they probably messed up and took a risk, even though like they knew this rule, but they probably took a risk, huh?
They had already used their first third and should have turned back when Roger's line ran out. Because Roger had a smaller tank than Martin, Martin assumed Roger would head out while he continued forward. He eventually came to a gravel wall of rock, which could have indicated the sump was ending, and possibly an air pocket. By this point, he was well past the halfway mark of his tank, so it was becoming extremely risky. He pushed on until he reached solid rock, confirming there was no air pocket. Spotting a passage to the right, he explored another 29 feet, but it ended in a dead end. When he backtracked, he was shocked to see Roger still there. Martin quickly signaled that they had to return. Roger, likely realizing he didn't have enough air to make it back, attempted to locate the same air pocket Martin had been searching for.
Oh my gosh. He thought there was an air pocket, so he was like trying to rush to there just to find out it's just dead ends, bro.
Continued about 130 feet until his main tank ran out, forcing him to switch to a reserve tank. That would give him only about 300 feet in sump 4 and another 850 feet in sump 3. Barely enough. However, he had previously placed...
Imagine having to switch your freaking oxygen tank just to get you through the rest of the swim. Like how scary that is.
Partially filled tank between sump 3 and sump 2, and he aimed to reach that. Finally emerging from sump 4, Martin sat on the bank waiting for Roger, who, remember, had a smaller tank. If he didn't appear soon, it would be a huge problem. After 20 minutes with no sign of Roger, Martin realized that if Roger had surfaced from sump 4 at that moment, he likely wouldn't have enough air left to get through sump 3. After an hour, Martin was certain Roger's air had run out. Martin entered the water again and tried pulling the guideline to make it tense, but it didn't. It was no longer connected. It had been cut at about the 430-foot mark. This was probably where Roger needed to change tanks, because switching them wasn't a simple task at the time.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how the hell is the process of switching? Like, you take it off, pretty much not breathe, and be able to do that, you know, in time to get back so you don't freaking drown.
Arm through the line to avoid losing it, twisted his body to reach the valve and become tangled, forcing him to cut the line to move freely. This, combined with the silt kicked up by movement, likely reduced his visibility, and he may have swum the wrong way. At that point,
oh no, he like went the wrong way, dude.
No doubt Roger had exhausted his air. Martin stayed calm.
That's the thing, it's dark as hell in these caves, right? So like, that's why they have to use those guidelines and stuff.
Managed to navigate the next 3 sumps safely. He alerted the authorities immediately, and the search for Roger's body began. Martin himself joined the search, along with many others. However, Roger's remains were not found until 1986, 12 years later. Recovering the body was deemed too risky, so it was left in the cave, and a plaque was placed near the entrance of sump 1 in Roger's honor. In 1987, another explorer passed through sump 4 and finally located the air pocket, 875 feet in, the very one Roger and Martin had hoped to find. It was called the Against All Odds Chamber.
Yeah, that's exactly what this freaking cave is, against all odds.
That after this incident, he never broke the rule of thirds again. He went on to have a remarkable diving career.
I'm sorry, there is absolutely no excuse for breaking any type of rules when it comes to doing things of this risky, you know what I'm saying?
The entrance to the cave system is locked, and only specific, experienced divers are granted a key. Floyd Collins incident. In late,
like, even if you do get a key and go in this cave, like, and then you see the RIP thing in there, bro, that should just make you turn back. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna go in there.
Floyd Collins incident. In late December 1924, Floyd Collins discovered a cave called Sand Cave, which was easily accessible to tourists because it was near a highway. He quickly struck a deal with the land's owners to receive 50% of any profits from the cave's exploration. Afterward, he immediately began working there. Since there was no significant entrance, however, many tourists avoided it. As a result, Floyd spent hours every day over the next few weeks digging deeper and deeper. On January 30th, 1920,
you got too much balls, man. Like, I would be too scared to dig, and you know, all of a sudden the land comes out from underneath me and it's wraps.
It was snowing outside, and once again Floyd went into the cave only to find...
You went into the cave while it's snowing?
Shocking. Crawling forward with a lantern, he reached what was known as the turnaround room, called that way because
that means turn the fuck around. Turn the hell around.
Cavers would stop there and turn around, deeming it too risky to continue. The only way to go farther was through a tiny narrow hole called the Squeeze, which measured only 9 inches in height.
9 inches?
Floyd, however, managed to push through. Beyond the Squeeze, he saw a...
What the f... Yo, come on, bro. Why would you even risk that?
Dropping about 10 feet. He went down feet first and reached the bottom, where he found yet another pit. Squatting down...
Like, bro, you're not even thinking about how the hell you gonna get back. Like, yeah, thank God you got through, but dude, you have to get all the way back too. And then you're going down, you know, down into the hole and shit. Like,
he removed the remaining rocks and debris and finally saw an opening into the main cave. He tied a rope in place and descended an 80-foot drop. Reaching the cavern floor, he was amazed by the sight, but noticed his light was starting to dim. Wanting to avoid being left in the dark, he climbed back up the 80-foot drop and began returning, moving backwards and pushing his lantern with his shoulder. Unfortunately, his lantern slipped into a tiny hole and shattered, leaving him in total darkness. Because the cavern was extremely unstable, Floyd knew he had to move carefully to avoid dislodging loose rocks. Unable to see, however, he kicked one loose, and it fell onto his left leg, trapping him. him. He tried.
That's the thing. These rocks in these caves are big as hell. Like, they can just trap you, bro. It's not one of those little ones you just kick off, you know.
With his right leg, but the more he moved, the more rocks tumbled down, further wedging him in place. It was 10 a.m. and he began shouting for help, hoping someone would hear him. He remained there all day, and by 9 a.m. the next morning, nearly 24 hours after he had become trapped, two of the cave's owners arrived with their 17-year-old son, Jewel Estes, to check on him. They saw Floyd's coat hanging outside the cave and called his name, but no one answered, so they ventured deeper. Before long, the two owners turned back because the passages were too tight, but Jewel continued and eventually found Floyd, who asked him to call his brothers for help. Soon, Marshall Collins, Floyd's brother, and Lee Collins, Floyd's father, reached the entrance, finding a growing crowd watching the rescue attempt. Marshall and another man went inside to widen the passage, digging carefully so as not to send loose rocks tumbling onto Floyd. At 4 p.m., Floyd's other brother Homer arrived. Floyd had previously asked Homer to come along that day, so Homer felt guilty for refusing and did his—
Like, imagine how intense this has to be, like, as his relatives and stuff just trying to go save him, bro. And you just know the time is just ticking. You know what I'm saying? He could get hypothermia too. The rocks can continue falling, probably fall on his face or something. And you guys are just trying every single way to get him out, but every single way just doesn't work. Like, how bad that has to feel, bro.
To help. He did reach Floyd, but a new problem emerged. The crowds outside had started multiple bonfires. The melting ice funneled water into the cave, creating—
Bro, are you serious?
Mud and sending freezing cold water down toward Floyd.
Why the fuck would they do that? What the— Bro, so nobody gave him a warning to not do that stupid shit? Oh my gosh, bro. That would piss me off. If I was the brothers, bro, I would go out there and freaking beat everybody up, bro.
After 8 hours with Floyd, his brothers had to rest. Upon emerging, Homer grew furious at the huge crowd, telling people to leave.
Like, get the fuck out of here, bro. Like, if y'all not gonna help or something, like, what are you watching, bro? This is not a TV show. This is somebody's real life in their hands, bro.
However, none of them listened. Reporters began arriving, hoping to
Reporters? You know, oh my gosh, bro. This is like some dystopian shit for real. Like, dead ass, like, reporters coming up and showing up. Like, dude, we're trying to rescue somebody and you guys are trying to make some money off there, get some clout or get some videos and shit.
Told them to see for themselves inside the cave.
Bro, you know how fast I would flip off this freaking reporter, bro? Like, get the fuck out of my face.
Some claimed Floyd was already dead or that the cave had collapsed entirely. Determined to prove otherwise, Marshall offered a $500,000 reward to anyone who saved his brother. As rumors spread more, however, he went in to check on Floyd himself and found him alive. Floyd managed to free one hand, suggesting they tie a rope around his chest to pull him out. But as soon as they tried, he begged them to stop, saying he felt like he was being pulled in two. Homer worked continuously.
Probably because the rocks are on his legs, so like they're just literally pulling his upper body only.
Removing dirt and debris until he was utterly exhausted and needed medical attention. By Tuesday night, 95 hours after Floyd had become trapped, a reporter named Skeets entered the cave and installed a light bulb near Floyd. While removing rubble, Skeets exposed more of Floyd's legs, but still couldn't free him. His story and interview with Floyd were published, drawing even larger crowds.
He really interviewed him, bro? Like, oh my gosh, dude, this is pissing me off, bro. Like, why are people just trying to take advantage of the situation? Like, I get it, bro. Like, I know it's like good for entertainment and everything, but at some point, bro, like, you're crossing a certain line sometimes, bro.
And at least 1,000 people gathered around Sand Cave. All this activity further weakened the cave walls, putting it at risk of collapse, though nobody realized it at the time.
Bro, oh my gosh, bro, this has to be the worst one because it's literally getting influenced by a whole bunch of dumbasses outside, bro.
As everyone was rooting for Floyd. At hour 123, the entrance to the pit collapsed, blocking any access to Floyd and cutting off deliveries of food and water. By hour 144, a team of workers formed to dig a new tunnel to reach him. The only way they could know if Floyd was still alive was the light bulb Skeets had installed. It was connected to another bulb outside, which would flicker when Floyd breathed. They dug relentlessly, but with no food or water reaching Floyd, combined with the cold temperature, his chances were fading quickly. By Friday, February 13th, the men had nearly reached him, and one worker reported hearing groaning about 10 feet away. However, at 1:30 a.m. on February 16th, a worker reached Floyd and found him already deceased. Initially, Floyd's body was left in the cave. After some time, though, his brother Homer arranged for its removal and gave him a proper burial.
Damn, all these were so sad, bro, and RIP to all the people in the video. But this Floyd Collins one, like, pisses me off, bro, because it deadass, like, recaps how dumb our society really can be, bro. Like, they were all outside just watching, having campfires and shit, like, not knowing that they're literally affecting this guy and probably fast forward to his death that could have maybe been prevented just because, you know, they want to freaking, I don't know what they were trying to do. I don't know what type of support that was, but that wasn't support. You know, porters and shit going down there interviewing him and all that. Dude, that shit pissed me off. I don't know why. Did that piss you guys off? Am I tripping, bro? But yeah, anyways, let me know if you guys want me to watch other videos like this. Thank you guys for the support. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man. Peace.